All right. Good morning, everybody. So as you can obviously tell, I'm not there. I am just really not feeling well, and so unfortunately, I didn't make it in today. I'm gonna have this short little video to kind of talk about one of the big questions that you're gonna see on your IA, and we're gonna talk about how do we actually solve that. Um, Now, on this do now, I'm not going to go over every single one. Whoever's filling in for me does have the answers to these, but we're just looking to use Pythagorean theorem. And so we're literally looking to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And so always make sure that c, right, is our hypotenuse. It's always the two legs of a triangle squared added is going to be the hypotenuse squared. And so, for example, really quick, if we look at number one, what we're going to see is that we should have 15 squared is equal to 12 squared plus, I'm just going to call it b squared, right? Let's just call this b for now. And so we're going to have 225 is going to be equal to 144 plus b squared. When we subtract that, we should end up with 225 minus 144. So again, just quickly subtracting 144 from both sides. We're going to learn that b squared is equal to 81. I take the square root of both sides. So learn that b is going to be 9. And so bc, 9. You're just looking to use Pythagorean theorem. Again, whoever's filling in for me does have the answers to all of these. But where I want us to spend most of our time today is down here. Past your Mad Minute. If you haven't done your Mad Minute now, pause this video, put 2 minutes on the timer, go through as many of these as you can. You should be able to get through all of these, I'll be honest. We should be able to get through all of these in just about 2 minutes. They should be quick. All right, again, whoever's filling in for me does have the answers and can display them. But as I said before, I really want to move down to this lovely example down here. Now, it's labeled as I do, and so I'm going to do this first one. And so this is going to be a very similar, okay, I'm going to say this again, a very similar problem to what you're going to see on your IA next week. And so we're being told that with this lovely triangle here, the tangent of x is going to be the square root of 28 over 6. And we want to know, okay, what is the cosine of x? Now, let's think about what the tangent of x really is, or specifically the tangent of theta, right? If I think about what is the tangent of theta, well, we've seen it so many times that the tangent of theta is actually the opposite side over my adjacent, right? When we're writing this out, we have so, ka, toa. And so I know my opposite side and I know my adjacent side. And so if this is my angle, right, if this is x, that means my opposite side is this lovely square root of 28. And so right down here, square root of 28. And that means that my adjacent, right, which is the one that touches the angle, is 6. Now, I want to know cosine. And based off of this right here, I know that cosine is going to be the adjacent over the hypotenuse, right? We know cosine theta is going to be the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. Fantastic. The only thing, though, is that we don't know the hypotenuse. And so, excuse me, the reason we did that as a do now is that we wanted to flex those muscles of remembering Pythagorean theorem and figure out how on earth we figure out this side. So this is our hypotenuse, right? I'm going to label it c. And so I know that c squared has to be equal to the other two legs squared, right? So 6 squared plus the square root of 28 squared. And so that means that c squared has to be equal to 36 plus 28. Well, 36 plus 28, that's 64. And so now I can take the square root of both sides. And when I do that, I learn that c is actually 8. And so I know what this side is now, right? That's 8. And so now that I know that side, I can just take these two values and plug it right in to this piece right there. And so I know that the cosine of x, right, it's not just theta anymore, it's just very specifically x, is going to be the adjacent side, that's still that 6, over the hypotenuse, which now is 8. And so the only piece that we're going to do from here is just clean this up. The cosine of x is equal to 3/4. Pause here if you need to get any of this down. All right, so I now want you to do the you do. It's right on the back of that page. Now, it's the same question. The only thing that's differing here are the numbers. Start by labeling your diagram and start by finding this lovely C value. You're going to have 4 minutes, work silent and solo. Go ahead and start. You can pause the video here. All right, so you've had 4 minutes. Hopefully we were able to find this out, right? And so we've named up above that tangent is really opposite. Just gonna write it up here. Opposite over adjacent, right? And we know that cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And so similarly, opposite, square root of 14, adjacent, 4. And so similarly, we know that c squared is going to be equal to 4 squared plus the square root of 14 squared. And so c squared is going to be 16 plus 14. Well, c squared is going to equal 30. I'm going to say square root. Now, c is going to be equal to the square root of 30. There's no super nice way to write this, right? I can't break this down. It just kind of has to live as this. And so this is going to be the square root of 30. And so now I just set up this piece here. I know that the cosine of x now is going to be equal to our adjacent side, 4, over the square root of 30. Now, I still have to clean this up. And let's remember, this, a radical in our denominator, means that we have to do something really specific. We need to rationalize this. We cannot leave this as is. And so remember that in order to rationalize, we're actually going to take this lovely fraction, we're going to multiply by the square root of 30 over the square root of 30. And so what we're actually going to have is that the cosine of x is going to be equal to 4 times the square root of 30 over 30, right? Square root of 30 times the square root of 30, 30. The whole point is to get rid of the radical from our denominator, and then we're just going to clean this up. So the cosine of x in this example is going to be equal to 2 times the square root of 30 over 15. Go ahead and pause if you need to get anything down. All right, so now, depending on how much time is left, you've got 3 questions here and then an exit ticket. And so I want you to take some time, right? Hopefully give yourself about 10 minutes for the exit ticket. Whoever's covering for me will be able to help you with the actual pacing. But I want you to work through these independent practice problems. These are all trig applications. And so remember that diagrams are our biggest friend, okay? Step 1 should always be draw your diagrams. Because remember, you're going to get points for diagrams on your IA. Make sure I can give you points drawing your diagrams. Once you get your diagrams drawn in, go ahead, figure out what it's asking you, and find either a length or a theta value. You have until the end of class. Again, whoever's there will help you manage your time. Please make sure you turn in your exit ticket, but I do want you to hang on to the rest of this packet and use it to study from for the upcoming test next week. Again, I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, everybody.